Hey everybody, Ben Frederickson here alongside Jeff Gordon talking some Cardinals baseball on Inside Pitch. Gordo, let's just hit it straight on the head. A big topic this offseason with Yadier Molina coming back as a special assistant to John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations, with Daniel Descalso being in the dugout for the Cardinals as their new bench coach, with Oli Marmol entering the final year of his contract. Doesn't have to be his final year. They could extend him at spring training or any time before the season started if they choose to. But as of right now, he's got 1 year left on his current deal. Do you sense pressure on Oli Marmol? The Cardinals coming off a last place finish, clearly not something they want to repeat. They want to see a lot of improvement. They've gone out and altered their rotation, but a lot of this is going to have to be improvement from within. What do you put the pressure level on the manager right now?
Well, I mean, you fire a guy who was highly successful, Mike Schill. He admittedly didn't necessarily agree with everything procedurally that was going on in the baseball operation.
Which some of that may have been right, considering how things have happened.
As it turned out, as luck would have it, somebody might have been right there. So yeah, anything's possible. And they have heir apparent lined up. And let's not forget Skip Schumacher is probably not long for Miami because of the changes there. He'll be looking for a better landing, and he's another beloved figure like Descalso, like Molina. So you've got so many candidates. So this team's got to play well. I think the good news is they've kept their better young players, and I think there's a connection between Oli and those guys, and they've got to take this thing forward because Arenado and Goldschmidt are hitting the twilight. But we're not sure about the pitching. They've done nothing really to upgrade the bullpen so far. So knowing that if I'm Oli and knowing what kind of focus there is going to be on me going into spring, I am still texting John once in a while saying, hey, how's that bullpen search going?
I thought you were going to say, how's that extension going?
Well, I mean, at this point, after last year, it was tough. And nobody felt more exasperated than Oli, obviously. This guy, I love this guy. He's competitive. He works. He prepares. It was a rough education on what all can go wrong in a season. Well, now he's learned from that, we assume, and he's a competitive dude. He'll come back. He'll give everything this year. It's going to be a better team, because it can't be any worse, right?
I think it's going to be a tougher team. We'll see if it's a better team. I think they will be better. I think they're mentally tougher, and I think the manager wanted that and likes that. I think Oli was very much in favor of going out and getting some hard-nosed, tough-minded pitchers. After last season, there was a lot of, I'm not pitching well, whose fault is it? Let's blame Wilson Contreras, who actually had a pretty dang good year for the Cardinals. These new guys, these new old guys, they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
They're going to take responsibility themselves. They're going to lead. They're going to hold guys accountable. This is a team where Oli won't have to go and bench Tyler O'Neill because he doesn't run the bases hard, because that's going to be handled internally like it should have been inside the clubhouse. It never should have had to have been the manager's responsibility. Last year's team, for whatever reason, didn't have those voices, and I think sometimes that put the manager in a bad spot. I think he is under pressure, but I'll say this about Oli. I think it says something about him that he wanted Yadier Molina to be around this team. He wanted Daniel Descalso to be his bench coach. He's not resisting bringing people into the fold who could be viewed outside as threats to his job. And I think that tells us something about what he wants. He wants to win. He wants to compete, and he'd rather go and get people he feels like can help him than say, no, I have to get bench coaches, or I have to resist people being brought back to the organization who could be viewed as a threat. That tells you something about how he wants to operate. He thinks Daniel Descalso will be a manager in the major leagues in 2 years, and he wants to keep hiring and bringing in people that are in that role. Same thing with Matt Holliday, who backed out on the job. We'll see where Yadi winds up, but I think it's a good sign, and I think Cardinals fans who are saying Yadi for manager and Descalso's up next should maybe take just a quick moment and say, hey, the manager who's currently in place is wanting these guys to come in and be a part of this. And that tells you something about the character of Oli Marmol. Now, he knows he's got to go out and win to get that next contract, to get that extension, to quiet that talk. And he feels like having those guys around him will help him do it.
Yeah, and I like him. I like the chemistry, and I like him managing Jordan Walker. I like him managing Mason Wynn. I think these guys have an attitude. I think this is your future. Again, you go down the list. Donovan, a guy that he loves. You keep him. He's a guy, I think, the way Tommy Edman plays. I think Newtbar is going to be fun. I think he connects with these guys. I think this chemistry of this group will connect. There's work to do, for sure, but at least he won't have scraps for a rotation as he did at the end of last year. I mean, the way last year ended was very unfair to Oli, just because they were outmanned at the end, and it just got ugly. He just had to take the beatings because that's the way life was after the sell-off. I think he can't wait for the start of spring training. Can't wait to get to Jupiter with the real
Yes.
team and to have some real depth and have a chance to really compete.
I think a little more stability too in terms of knowing what the outfield looks like. They're not talking themselves into Tyler O'Neill suddenly being a center fielder. They kind of know.
Remember those days, Ben Fred?
I do.
Remember
I
how
was
that worked?
I was at spring training going, this makes no
Oh,
sense. And everyone
oh.
else, am I eating crazy pills? And
Yeah.
what's going on? They've got a little more, I think, positional certainty. They got a little more stability in some of their position decisions. I think that will help them. Here's what I think. I think Oli Marmol is going to be fine if this team obviously wins. That has to happen. But if they find an identity again, I don't think they had an identity last year. They didn't defend well. They didn't run the bases well. They had some offense, but it couldn't hit situationally. The pitching fell out from beneath them. They need to be a team that has an identity, whether that's aggressive, whether that's hard edge, whether that's starters going deep in the game. I don't know what it will be yet. Hopefully it's a little more better situationally hitting group, but they need to find an identity and rally around it. If they can do that, then I think people will be back in Ollie's favor in the inside pitch straw poll. So we'll see how that goes. But we want to touch on that topic because it's going to float around this team this offseason. Keep it locked at stltoday.com for all of your Cardinals coverage. We'll have tons of coverage of winter warm-up coming up next, and we'll have many writers there and tons of stories, podcasts, videos, all of the above. For Jeff Gordon, I'm Ben Frederickson. We'll talk to you next time.